Tensions explode. Alberta by-election sparks controversy as premiers collide over pipeline showdown. The Alberta by-election, held shortly after the snap federal election on April 28, 2025, ignited a political firestorm that quickly captivated the attention of Canadians across the country. Originally expected to be a routine local vote to fill a legislative seat, it rapidly evolved into a heated battleground representing deep-rooted divisions within Alberta's political landscape. This contest was no longer simply about who would hold office. It became a symbol of Alberta's struggle to define its economic future, preserve its identity, and assert its place within a Canada grappling with rapid change. The by-election served as a microcosm for a much larger conflict over power, policy, and the environment, laying bare the tensions simmering between provincial and federal governments. At the heart of this fierce confrontation lies Alberta's oil and gas industry, the engine that has fueled the province's economy for generations. Pipelines crisscrossing the province are more than just infrastructure. They are lifelines connecting Alberta's resources to markets across Canada and around the world. For many Albertans, these pipelines symbolize not only prosperity, but pride in a hardworking, resource-rich province. Yet, with Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government pushing an ambitious climate agenda focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning toward renewable energy, many feel their way of life is under direct threat. The by-election quickly became a dramatic showdown, raising urgent questions. Will Alberta resist federal climate policies to protect its energy sector, or will it be forced to adapt to a changing global economy? Premier Danielle positioned herself as the staunch defender of Alberta's energy industry, framing the by-election as a fight for the province's very survival. Smith openly accused Ottawa of engaging in economic sabotage through stringent environmental regulations and repeated delays in pipeline approvals. Her fiery rhetoric struck a powerful chord with voters concerned about job losses, shrinking investment, and what they saw as a federal government out of touch with Alberta's realities. Smith's campaign argued that protecting pipelines and fossil fuel development was not merely about economics. It was about defending Alberta's autonomy, identity, and future prosperity in the face of political interference. Opposing Smith, the Liberal candidate presented a contrasting vision, urging Albertans to embrace climate action and prepare for a greener future. They emphasized the urgency of diversifying Alberta's economy, investing in renewable energy, and equipping workers with skills for emerging industries. While this message resonated strongly with younger voters and environmental advocates, it met resistance in communities deeply reliant on oil and gas. The candidate warned that without decisive action, Alberta risked falling behind in a world that is rapidly shifting away from fossil fuels. This clash of visions transformed the by-election into a crossroads between clinging to traditional economic models and embracing a bold new path. The campaign quickly grew tense and divisive, with passionate supporters on both sides accusing one another of spreading misinformation and stoking fear. Social media amplified these conflicts, turning the election into a proxy war over Alberta's identity and values. Many voters felt trapped in a political culture war, torn between preserving the province's proud history as an energy powerhouse and confronting an uncertain future amid growing climate concerns. The polarization extended beyond political figures to impact everyday Albertans. Small business owners in oilfield towns expressed anxiety over federal policies they feared would choke investment and kill jobs. Meanwhile, younger generations voiced frustration and fear about climate change and its consequences. Indigenous communities, historically sidelined in resource development debates, demanded meaningful engagement, emphasizing respect for treaty rights and sustainable economic development. The by-election thus became a flashpoint reflecting broader social tensions, where competing ideas of justice, prosperity, and environmental stewardship collided. As the votes were tallied, the by-election's results sent a strong message of defiance against the federal climate agenda. Premier Smith, buoyed by her party's strong performance, took her message directly to the national stage. She publicly condemned Prime Minister Carney's policies as an existential threat to Alberta's economy and way of life. Smith vowed to fight what she called federal overreach and doubled down on the importance of pipeline expansion as essential for protecting jobs, government revenue, and provincial pride. Prime Minister Carney, in response, remained unwavering in his vision for Canada's future. He emphasized the federal government's responsibility to lead on climate change while ensuring a just transition for workers and communities affected by the energy shift. Carney highlighted federal investments in renewable energy, carbon capture technologies, and economic diversification programs as necessary steps to secure Canada's competitiveness and environmental sustainability. Despite Smith's critiques, Carney's vision offers a hopeful, though challenging, path that seeks to balance economic growth with ecological responsibility. The public clash between Premiers Smith and Carney illuminated deeper tensions in Canadian federalism. Alberta's opposition reflects long-standing regional grievances about the limits of provincial autonomy and concerns that Ottawa's priorities often overlook Alberta's economic contributions. For many Albertans, Carney's climate agenda is perceived not simply as policy, but as an attack on their identity and way of life. Conversely, supporters of Carney's government argue that addressing climate change is an existential necessity and that Alberta's resistance risks isolating the province from emerging global markets and investment opportunities. Central to this conflict is the pipeline dispute, which has become symbolic of the broader political and cultural battles. Pipeline projects have been repeatedly delayed or blocked due to environmental assessments and Indigenous rights claims, frustrating Alberta's government and energy companies alike. Smith's administration aggressively promotes pipeline expansion as critical to economic recovery, job creation, and sustaining government revenues. Meanwhile, Carney's insistence on sustainability and environmental protection has hardened divisions and made compromise more elusive. Ultimately, the Alberta by-election and the dramatic collision between Premiers Smith and Carney highlight the complex balancing act facing Canada, respecting provincial autonomy while advancing national climate goals, protecting economic realities while confronting environmental imperatives. The tensions ignited by this election expose a nation wrestling with competing demands that call for nuanced leadership, open dialogue, and willingness to find common ground. This by-election was far more than a political contest. It was a moment that exposed fractures in Canada's federal system and tested the country's ability to reconcile differences. The pipeline showdown reflects the real anxieties, hopes, and divisions felt by millions of Canadians.